think that's it.
Looks good. So, welcome back to the Kickback with Jack podcast. I think we're on episode 7 now. Today I'm joined by Lochie McCosker. Have I said that right?
No,
Today I am joined by Lochie
McCosker.
McCosker. I can never get that right. So, I've had black belts on the show. I've had brown belts on the show. So now it's time to have my first white belt on the show. I said I wouldn't talk to him, but it's what the people want. So, Lochie, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So I guess we'll talk about jiu-jitsu to start off with. When did you start, and why did you start?
Yeah, I started last year in January. One of my uncles is in Townsville, and he does a bit of jiu-jitsu, and there's a couple of blokes that I knew that were from Toowoomba that were doing jiu-jitsu, and primarily it was at BN, so I just thought, why not give it a go? And yeah, I started. I did a free trial. It was in the holidays. I think it was last year. Yeah, last year in January. It was in the holiday season, and yeah, it was really, really good. Loved it. Yeah.
And before you were doing jiu-jitsu, you've always been pretty active, right? So talk to me a little bit about what you played and what you competed in growing up.
So when I was growing up, I basically got put into gymnastics and stuff when I was really, really younger. And I excelled in that. And I really liked gymnastics.
Yeah.
And it was really good. Did a fair few competitions and stuff when I was a kid, out in going out to Warwick and these other places, and they have comps. And then I ended up changing over and ended up doing a bit of rugby union. My dad was really, really into rugby union, so and he played it as a kid, so it was kind of a thought to go, why not sign him up into that? So I started doing a little bit of that, and yeah, really liked that. I was out in Highfields, and I did a bit of scooter, a bit of BMXing, bit of everything, and a bit of parkour. Like going up in the years, going through school, it was kind of probably grade 7, 8, maybe a little bit of 9. Probably not too much in the older years, but definitely 7 and 8. I was really into that parkour, and even in school, primary school was like that. And yeah, I just liked it. Learned how to do acrobatics, and it also kind of linked in with gymnastics and when I was younger. So that was really cool.
And sorry, no, it's me, microwave. And how do you think playing rugby and doing gymnastics and doing parkour? How do you think that's helped you in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It definitely helps trying to find out how you do the techniques. Acting out the techniques and finding a way to do it for yourself definitely helps. And I think when you have background in those things of, I don't know, having to work out how to do something by yourself,
sort of problem solving situation.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, those problem solving, how to do a technique like this when you have no background of how to do it. Yeah.
So do you sort of apply the same learning logic, I guess, to learning jiu-jitsu that you did to, say, learning, I don't know, a backflip in gymnastics?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely like that. And I think obviously the help with Justin and the coaches trying to show the techniques, but when it's just yourself, you kind of have to work out what you need to do. Yeah.
And how big of a role do you think, because obviously you're an athletic dude, everyone knows that about you, how big of a role do you think athletics and just overall strength and agility plays in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I honestly think it's pretty paramount.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're not very athletic, it's probably not, I don't know, not the right sport, but
yeah,
it's definitely something that's going to take a lot more time to understand and to be at a level where it's your understanding and your physical attributes can kind of intertwine,
speed things up a little bit. Yeah, and it's interesting because they say technique is the most important thing, which it is. But if you just have technique and you just have no strength, you have no flexibility, I feel like you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
I don't think you can sort of make up that ground. I don't know.
Definitely. I see that as well. I feel like if I was probably not a flexible person or didn't have a little bit of tism or some sort of something like
Yeah.
I don't know, it make it a little bit more harder to learn these kind of things.
Yeah. And what have you found to be the most? We'll start with the most difficult thing. Like, what have you like? You've been training for what, just over a year now. What have you found to be the most difficult part of learning jiu-jitsu?
Um, almost, I think it's more for the sense of slowing down and understanding you're in it for the long game, and like it's good to absolutely like smash through, um, but try and work on techniques, try and work on those fundamentals, and not rush. Like take things in sections and parts of like, do this for a couple of weeks and then do this for a couple of weeks. And a lot of you boys and a lot of people I talk to say that they do that to try and break it down, and you work on these certain things, and you know, find out what works and what doesn't work, and you know, in those positions, and then get a little bit of like a understanding of how that is, and then move on to something else that might be a little bit more trickier and or something that's a little bit new.
And obviously, you're still early into it, but is there anything you would have done differently, or like anything that you'd tell yourself when you first started?
I'd say definitely work on controls.
Yeah, don't muscle everything.
Yeah, don't muscle stuff. Oh, when I first started, it was I came into it and I just muscled out everything. I tried to like I think a lot of people do when they get into those situations where they don't know what they're actually supposed to be doing. They'll just muscle out and use and exert all their energy, and then they end up being in a worse position because then they have the upper hand. So yeah, I think learning the controls and learning to take your time when you're like, let's just say you're on top or something, like wait for them to make that movement and that like that shift in their body weight or something that will make you get into a better position.
And we've spoken about this before, but you're someone who's a bit of a perfectionist and you want to know everything straight away. And we had this discussion the other day. What was that quote you were telling me that we watched that video of about perfectionism? That
perfectionism about like the it kind of like the thief of joy.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like, I think what we were talking about was the fact that, you know, if you have this outlook of, you know, everything has to be perfect, anything less than perfect is considered a failure.
Yeah.
And perfect is considered satisfactory, right?
Yeah, correct.
Like, how do you personally sort of navigate that, or is that something you're still learning to navigate?
Yeah, that is something I'm still trying to learn and navigate through. It's definitely hard. I think just how I work and how my brain works of like wanting to know all these things and wanting to be like, you know, understand and be good at things really quick is I think it's a positive, but it's also a downfall as well. Like, because instead of taking the time and actually taking the little wins as well, I think that's another thing. Like, I don't know, if you're always thinking that something's not satisfactory, you're not going to be very happy. But
and is that something that you've always been like, or is it something?
Yeah.
It's
literally been like that. It's like whatever I do, or like whenever if it's another sport, like it was like gymnastics, like scooter riding, BMX riding, like parkour, everything. I was like, I want to master this, and I want to be like really good. I'm trying. It's kind of like a test. I'm like, I want to get this done, and I want an achievement by this time. And it's like, when you get it, it's like, okay, well, that was alright, but you know, it should have been this then. And it's like always the next thing.
Nah, it's interesting because I don't feel like I'm like that as much. Like, I obviously like winning. Like, everyone likes winning, and I like learning things. But like, I'm willing to be like, you know, shit happens. But but it's probably why I'll never be like a high level competitor in anything, because I just don't have that sort of like. I just guess I just don't have enough mongrel in me to be like I need. But then there's obviously, as you're saying, like the flip side where you just like constantly super critical of yourself about it, which sucks.
100%.
Yeah. So, you've started competing. You've obviously competed a few times now. Talk to me about like that. What do you enjoy about competing in jiu-jitsu?
I think obviously for the obvious fact of that potentially walking away with like a medal or some sort of like place is really good. That's really good. I actually find it very, very difficult in going to these comps because I get a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure because I think I build all these building blocks for myself to be like, you have to perform like this, you have to do this, and not actually facing what's like straight in front of me and like being in the moment and present there. I think I overthink on these things, and then it comes into the match, and I'm really really anxious, and then I can kind of get a gauge after that. Like it's kind of I don't know, probably a little bit weird, but like when they like if they touch me or if they grab me,
Yeah.
and I know straight away like what if they're strong, if they're not strong, and then I'll immediately be like, I'm sweet, like this is good, or
100%.
or it's gonna be a harder match. Like yeah,
Before every fight I ever had, shitting myself. Like feel like half of them I threw up beforehand, like super super nervous. As soon as you take that first punch or you lock with someone, you're just like, all right, it's fine. I've done this before.
Yeah,
but yeah, the waiting is the worst part for sure.
100%. Yeah, and I find as well like it's every single match too. Like when you're going into the next one, like
see, that's funny. I don't get that as much.
A lot of people are like, oh, that's so crazy because it's like it'll be the first match, and like if they get a win, they'll be like, oh, sweet, and they'll be set for the day. It's like I've got my first win, but I'm thinking about there's potentially 5 others after this, and I'm like, oh, stressing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I remember before your last comp, you were just bricking it before your first match. You go in there, guillotine the dude in like 20 seconds. They're like, what are you stressing? And then you come out, you're like, oh, fuck, the next match is on. I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
So, mate, you're fine. What do you like? Do you like winning more or do you hate losing more? That makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's not, I don't think it's, per se the losing, that annoys me. It's more that like you're leading up into the comp, you work so hard to do all those things, and then like when you lose, it's kind of like, oh, did I not train enough harder, or did I not train as well as I probably should have, or going into the match? But at the same time, they're doing the exact same things. They're in that for that same reason, to win or lose, primarily to win. But like, I'm not too sure.
Do you feel the pressure like externally? Do you worry more about what other people will think, or is it more about like you put the pressure on yourself about what you think of yourself?
Yeah, I think I critique myself a lot more, and I think I don't know. I think it's the way that I talk to myself and be like, you have to do this. You have to be like, I don't know. I treat myself as I'm the person that has to be accountable for myself, and if I'm not, then it's like, who is going to be?
Yeah.
So it's like I put the pressure of being like, you have to do this. This is not good enough, or this is good enough, but you have to do better. In the sense of that, if I wasn't telling myself that, no one else would kind of either tell me that, other than like obviously my mates and Justin, and but it's, I don't know, I think it's just more for me, and it gives me a goal as well, and it sets my, like, I have a little fire of like, I need to get this done. I need it for me, and then I'm holding myself accountable. I'm like, okay, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. Okay, we need to focus on this. Like, but yeah, I definitely like comps. I love. It is always good having a win.
Yeah.
I love it. But I do like the losses as well, because it gives me time, and especially if we film it, it gives me time to reflect and to think about things I could have been doing better. Like in the IBJJF one, I got armbarred, and it gave me a bit of time to be like, okay, well, how did I get in that position? What things can I do better? Like what kind of movements was I doing leading up to that? That put me in a worse position, and what should I have done better? Like those kind of things, like analysing it.
How long after a comp are you still thinking about the comp?
Forever.
Yeah, really?
Man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if it's like something bad where it's like, oh, like I've lost, like I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks, so I'm like, oh damn, like I probably should have done this better, but I'm not like, I don't know, not thinking all the time about it.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, I guess it's a good thing because you can go away and you can sort of improve based off of that. Do you think that everyone should compete?
100%.
Yeah,
I think it's probably the best thing for growth. I think. I think if I was to, and this is not a negative to anyone else that doesn't compete, but like I feel like if you become too stagnant in just doing the roles inside the gym and being comfortable with the people that you are rolling all the time and used to their techniques or their game plans or whatever, I don't think there's any growth in that because you're not stepping outside of that comfort zone. It's like that. I think to be better, there needs to be some sort of change, and I think that's in
everything, right?
In everything,
Yeah.
100%. But definitely, I think comps are really good because, and even though like I'm absolutely shitting myself when I'm in the comp, I know that when I walk away from it, that I'm definitely going to be better than I was before it.
Yeah.
Because I've witnessed and I've been in something that I had no control of, other than like obviously myself, but knowing their skill level, their knowledge of something, that's very nerve wracking. And I think that's the one reason that a lot of people are scared to do those comps because it's like this person may have, X amount of like knowledge about this or better than me, but it's about going in and just having a go. Like,
yeah, it's sort of how you compete on the day, right? Like,
exactly.
there's people that I beat that are much better than me. And there's people that have beat me that probably weren't as good as me. You know what I mean? But it's just like, how do you compete on the day? That like 1v1 aspect, I think it's so important. Builds resilience in life. I think
100%.
Yeah, one of my mates said to me in a podcast the other day. Actually, he's a boxer, and he was like, he quoted like Fight Club, where he's saying like, "What do you know about yourself? So you've been in a fight." And I think that's really true in the sense of like having that one-on-one competition. There's nothing that replicates it, and there's nothing that feels as stressful as that. Like if you can go in there and you can compete, win or lose, the rest of the day just is so much easier. Like everything's easier.
And it's also, I think, you end up feeling happier anyway, walking away from it, like win or lose, because you went in there, you tried to do something, and you feel like you've been like accomplished something, even though if you've lost, you still had a go, you still tried your best, and you feel accomplished because you did something. Like that's like the main thing, like going out and doing something, and as we're saying, like in all aspects of life, like going out and doing some change, like having change in your life, or going out and accomplishing something, you feel so much better about yourself.
I feel like a lot of people don't do things because they're just scared of what other people think. I feel like that's the biggest thing with competing in these things. Like, say you compete in a jiu-jitsu comp and you lose, and you lose every single match, and you're like, oh, well, I wonder what they're going to think of me at the gym or whatever. But if you don't do those things, then you never achieve anything.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like that's kind of a pretty important element of life.
Yeah.
So back to the white belt stuff. They talk about like white belt frustration. Is that something you feel?
Like in the sense of
like you feel like you're so new to it. You're like, oh, how I can learn all these things. I feel like I'm not progressing.
Yeah.
Like, is that something you feel?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like sometimes it is like you'll have weeks, and I think everyone has those weeks and days where you may not be doing something right, or you feel like, annoyed about something. But yeah, it's definitely like there is so much knowledge and information to soak up that it's just like, well, for me, it's like I want to soak it up as fast as I can and try and understand it so fast, which I think that's more the frustrating thing. But I don't know. I think it just takes its time, but I do get a bit frustrated in the sense of that, like I don't know all these things and I want to know them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, as you said before, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. Is there anything else that you've done? Like obviously you said you've done your gymnastics and your football or rugby for my South Australian fans. Is there anything else that's ever felt like jiu-jitsu?
I'd say the closest thing would be gymnastics.
Yeah.
I'd say in a lot of sense, I think flexibility wise, knowing how to move and like control your body and like knowing where weight shift is, I think that definitely helps. Like when you like, there's a lot of things like beam and rings and like tramp and everything like all those kind of things where you have to use your body to move and maneuver in certain ways definitely helps. And I think it kind of, if you can do gymnastics and then like jiu-jitsu, I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, interlinked.
Well, that's an interesting point, actually. What do you think is the best base for jiu-jitsu? Like, if you had to come from, would you say gymnastics?
I'd 100%.
Yeah, that's funny because I would say the two would be gymnastics and rugby.
Yeah. And
you've sort of done both, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's nothing else that really, I mean, I guess maybe like powerlifting or something, like if you're pretty strong.
Yeah. Well, I think at the same time, I think like doing those certain movements in powerlifting, like you have heaps of strength, like you know how to maneuver, like there's certain movements that you're really really good at. And there's like I'm not dissing powerlifting, but like, I just think that like when you're doing even like weightlifting and stuff, like it helps you perform, and like obviously it keeps you strong, but like mobility wise, I think it it's a double edged sword because you get too big. If you get too big and too like bulky, and like yes, you can use your strength, but like you're worse off mobility wise. Like I think there's like a good muscle to mobility.
Yeah.
Like
But I also think as well, it's interesting because it's like, it's one of those sports where you can just like play to your body type. Like you see dudes who are like lanky and long who dominate, and then you see dudes who are short and stocky who dominate. You just kind of have to tailor to it. Whereas like if you're an AFL player, being 6'6", 110 kilos is probably the best build.
Yeah.
Like objectively, it's probably going to be the best build for you. Whereas jiu-jitsu is not necessarily the case.
Yeah,
I don't think.
that is so true.
Yeah, like this. I think I guess fighting sports, because they have weight classes, probably does away with a bit of that. Most sports, like being bigger, is probably the advantage, but not necessarily.
Yeah, I actually feel like I think that jiu-jitsu is like one of the sports where it's like it comes down to skill base.
Hi guys, exciting news. We are once again sponsored by Hand Raised Apparel. As you can see, I'm rocking the white tee today. Comes with a really nice font on the front here, and we've also got the logo on the back. Really awesome material. You can train in it, you can wear it out to dinner, you can wear it out to lunch. It's just beautiful. We also have the grey and the green, which comes as well in the grey and the red. And my personal favourite, which I've been wearing a lot recently, is the black and the white. So if you're interested in copying one, head on down to Hand Raised Apparel on Instagram and buy yourself a t-shirt and a rashi. Now back to the podcast. So, if you had to pick 3 subs for the rest of your life, what would you pick?
The rest of my life, I'd say omoplata.
Omoplata, interesting.
Rear naked choke, and rear triangle.
Why a rear triangle?
Yeah, like the rear triangles. Oh, I think they're so cool, and there's something about them. I froth over it.
I reckon of all the subs to get cooked, actually no, I'm probably fucking bullshitting here, but I reckon I would say that rear triangle is one of the worst to get caught in.
Really?
Yeah, I hate it. I mean, obviously, like something like a heel hook is probably worse to get caught in, but in terms of just like being debilitating and feeling like you just like, I'm screwed here.
Yeah.
I just hate that position because they've got your arm and you're stuck with a triangle. They've got an arm bar.
They have an arm bar as well.
You can't go anywhere. Like you belly down, you're in trouble. You try to put your hands back, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
It's just a dreadful position.
Yeah, I love that position. It's like one of my favorite ones.
It is good. I'd have to go Das.
Yeah.
Obviously. I'd go Das choke. I'd go a rear naked just because it's the most percentage-wise, and then probably like a regular triangle.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the most things that you hit on me. So
yeah, that's the most things I hit on everyone. That's the only 3 subs I know. You just got to spam the same ones over and over. So looking ahead, what do you want to achieve in jiu-jitsu?
I think definitely expand my knowledge. I think that's definitely one of the things. Definitely become better. I think a lot of people really want to become better if they're doing something for a long time.
I want to become worse.
But yeah, I don't know. Do more comps. Definitely, I don't know, maybe get a little bit more like recognised. I don't know. I don't want to make it a whole life choice thing of like, I just want to do jiu-jitsu and be a world-class athlete. I like to be.
But you want to compete at states this year?
Yeah, I'd like to do that. Yeah, it'd be really, really good.
And because you'd be competing at states for just training probably like a year and a half. So that would be like pretty ahead of the curve for most people, which would be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it'd be very exciting. It's very daunting, but yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of keen for it, and it's really good. And
Yeah.
Justin and you boys will help me out and help me try and achieve
Mm.
and get really set and good for it. So yeah.
In terms of training, what do you like? What's your favorite style of training that we do? What do you enjoy most?
Um, I do like when we. I think when Justin teaches the techniques, and then you get to go and dissect why. Like
Yeah.
you get to, like they say, oh, the partner goes 50%, and then you get to see their reactions in live time of like, oh, they've moved this way, they've done this, why? Like, how can I counteract that, and what things should I be looking for next?
Mm.
I think that like when we're training something, a technique that it might be, it might be, just a technique to try and work on, and then from that position, starting there, and then trying to get it like the other person trying to get out. So I do like that.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I feel like if I can understand the reason behind why we're doing something, then it becomes a lot easier to learn that thing.
Yeah,
because
and
concepts.
Yeah, and as Justin says, like concepts are obviously key, and try and work on those concepts and why you're doing it instead of because if you can get the concepts of one thing, then it's always there for everything else.
You can apply it to everything else. Yeah, I always like the idea of like, for instance, like sweeps, right? Every single sweep, no matter how complicated, is take away the post, push them towards the side where they don't have a post.
Yeah.
Or like most blood chokes is, close off both sides of the airway.
Yeah.
And if you can like think about that, you can sort of just make things up as you go.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I just grab them on the bottom and like try to head an arm or like dance from the bottom because like, I know the end result here, so I kind of just have to get the shoulder in the right position.
It works.
Yeah, that's the trick. If you don't know the technique, just muscle it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's good. And like, what do you think about things like Shark Tanking leading up to it?
100%.
Yeah,
I think that is
you're all for it.
That, yeah, definitely. I do. I really, really like. I like hard, like rounds and scrappy rounds where it's like I can, get something out of you. Like, yeah, you gotta strive and be like, look, I'm completely stuffed and buggered right now, but that's not like it's not the focus. It's to keep going and to push through and have that mongrel in you. And the ticker. Like,
I feel like that's by far the biggest difference between rolling in class and competing. Because if you don't prepare for that, then you're just gonna. It doesn't matter how good your technique is. I think you're just gonna crumble when you go into comp.
Yeah.
Like when someone's on top of you and they're like, "Oh, why is this person elbowing me in the face? Like, why are they going so hard on me? Like, I've never felt this before." And if you've never felt that, you're just not gonna know what to do.
Yeah, 100%. And then when you're in those worst positions, like giving up, that's probably the worst thing. Like I don't know, just get real fiery and like try and get out of it, like get some movement, because you won't, like if you stay, as I was saying, like if you stay in that one position and you stay stagnant in that position, then nothing's going to change. If you force something or if you move a certain way and they off balance, then you have something to work with. You have an opportunity. Like if you stay in the one spot and you're like, oh, they're on top man or something, it's like this is not really going good. Yeah. It's like exactly. It's like if you go, I can either get out of this and try and like push towards it. Like, but then there's also another aspect of it, like when you're so fatigued and you're in those positions where you're getting out, you are in a vulnerable state if you just go gung ho and go, oh, I'm doing this, and you get caught in something else. Like there's like you got to still be fatigued but wary of what movements you're doing and what you're doing. Like,
still do them correctly, sort of thing. I find that like when you get in a scramble, if you that 20 seconds of pain to win the scramble is just worth it. Rather than being pinned under someone for 2 minutes.
100%.
Like it's probably harder to win that scramble in that 20 seconds, but when you're on the bottom and they've won, then you're screwed. Like you're probably not going to get up again if someone's pretty decent. They've got you in like a full mount and have your hands above your head or something.
100%.
Yeah, so it's so important to win that.
Yeah.
That's good. What do you prefer, gi or no gi?
The gi.
Oh wow!
Nah,
just kidding, folks.
Just kidding. Nah, I think they're both good, but I prefer the no gi. I think it's.
I couldn't even say it with a straight face.
I like the no gear. I think it's a little bit so much better. I fucking hate like
The gi.
when people get you like the cross collars and stuff, and you're like, mate, like just
I know it's like
off.
such a big part of the game, but it makes me like irrationally angry.
Yeah,
Like I hate being strangled with my own clothes.
Yeah.
Like it just makes me so mad.
Yeah, and it's probably like all credit to the person that's actually doing
Nah,
it.
because I'm not giving credit at all.
They're just like getting a bow and arrow. They're using me as my own choke, and I'm like, mate, like,
Yeah,
what's the go with
but
this?
like sometimes as well, there's people will just hold you there.
Yeah.
Like they'll just grab the gi and they'll hang on for dear life, and you just like, I hate you.
Yeah.
I'm never rolling with you again.
Heel.
Heel hook in the gi. Yeah. Heel hook a white belt.
No, I definitely like the no gi a little bit better. I think when it gets a little bit slipperier as well, you gotta kind of work on, I don't know, a little bit more controls. I find it easier as well because you're not working with clothing. Like, I don't know, a lot of people could probably like relate it to like, oh, if you're out in the club, they're gonna be wearing clothes. But it's like, well,
yeah, but
fair
we don't
enough,
live in
but-
Canada.
yeah,
They're not
exactly.
going to be wearing a massive thick puffer jacket where you're going to cross collar toe
Exactly.
and you're not going to stand there for 6 seconds until they go out.
Exactly. And there's just, I don't know, you have so much more things to work with in the no-gi as well.
I think so. Yeah. And also, if you're athletic, you can just play your athleticism. Whereas in the gi, it's so slow. Everything's sticky.
100%.
I mean, in saying that, I'm also just shit in the gi. So people who are good in the gi are like probably can make something work with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I find it harder as well to maneuver because you might have one position where it's like you're just about to get out, your foot's just about to get out, and it gets caught on their bloody, like the gi or like the top or the bottom or somewhere or some sort of clothing. And you're like, if I was a no-gi, it would have been.
I could have slipped my foot right out
exactly.
of here. Yeah.
I don't know.
I also just like love wrestling. Like I don't know. Do you think wrestling is essential?
100%. Yeah, I think it's really good. Those are honestly the classes that we do with Dion and all those wrestling classes and what Justin shows are like 100%. I think if you apply wrestling to jiu-jitsu, it would like absolutely skyrocket performance.
Well, that's what I think. Like I said it to Justin and I said it to Robert as well. But it's just think like you can be so effective at jiu-jitsu, but if you can't get someone to the ground, like what's the point?
Yeah.
Like it's like having a gun with no bullets in it.
Yeah.
Like you can't implement your jiu-jitsu on someone if you can't get them down.
100%. And I think as well, like throws and everything that gets thrown and shown, like I don't know, pinning someone to the ground, like they work on controlling and consolidating like the opponent and getting him like their shoulders on the mat. But you can apply, like if you can get them down and you get them in that position, then you can work jiu-jitsu from there. Like you can control them and then move them to a better position for yourself. So.
Yeah, I saw an interesting thing today. I can't remember if I sent it to you, but it was a guy basically saying that if you can't pin someone with your jiu-jitsu, then it's not effective.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that's so interesting. It's like you can play K-guard, you can play De La Hiva or whatever, but if you can't just basically pin someone to the ground and stop them from getting up, like police style, then it's not really that effective. Like,
yeah. And I think there is like 100%. I'm not good at doing that. Like the control, like it's, I don't know, like when you see like Khan and Justin and all the blokes that are like,
belts,
like Poss, like, just absolutely pinning you down, and you're like, what can I do here? Like, there is nothing I can do.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Do you ever see yourself going into anything outside of BJJ, like MMA or?
There was at a point where I was like, like I really want to do like an MMA fight. I'm like, I don't know, I had a couple head knocks and stuff, so I'm like a little bit cautious of it, but like, I don't know, who knows? Maybe.
Time will tell.
Yeah, I don't know. If you boys keep encouraging me and inspiring me, I probably might, but I don't know. I'd be very keen. But yeah.
Sounds good, mate. Well, that was everything I had for you. Unless there's anything else you had.
No, that should be all right.
Awesome, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.